Welcome to Peace TV. Today we update you with the news of Ukraine's counterattack on Russian territory, which are small-scale attacks against the Russians, but there can be no big counterattack, as large as Western fascism desires. A group of Russian citizens with links to the Ukrainian military has confirmed an attack on the Belgorod region in the southwest of Russia, claiming that Moscow is fighting a group of saboteurs there. The shelling damaged administrative buildings, residential buildings, and a kindergarten. Regional Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov confirmed there were no deaths in the attack. The groups calling themselves Russian Freedom Corps and Russian Volunteer Corps through a Telegram post said they had liberated a settlement in the Belgorod region, which borders Ukraine. According to Andriy Yusov, a representative of Ukraine's Defense Intelligence Service, the units conducted an operation in the area but insisted they acted independently. These units are said to be part of the defense and security forces while in Ukraine, but independent of Kiev when in Russia, and are believed to be confirmed liberal groups that are hard to track and belonging to whose type of ownership. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Kremlin forces were working to repel a group of sabotage and espionage, according to state media agency TASS. According to CNN's Sam Kiley, the situation in Belgorod marks the first time Ukraine-aligned forces have conducted a cross-border ground operation against Russian targets. Kiley believes this is an operation of considerable scale and is clearly intended to make a big impression on the Kremlin. According to Regional Governor Gladkov, at least 8 people were injured in the attacks, but no civilians were killed in Belgorod. The security situation is still very tense, and local authorities are taking measures to ensure the safety of the people. Most of the population in Belgorod has been evacuated from the area by personal means, and local authorities are assisting those unable to leave the area on their own. Earlier, the Russian Army, Border Guards, National Guard and FSB took the necessary measures to eliminate the enemy. Russia's air defenses shot down an unmanned aerial vehicle UAV in the area, and Russian authorities are checking for any damage on the ground. The group Russian Freedom Corps confirmed the attack and said it was trying to liberate our homeland from Putin's tyranny. These groups posted messages on Telegram saying they had completely liberated the Kazinka settlement of the Belgorod region. The first group entered Graveron. They also posted another video with another Russian opposition flag flying over various parts of Moscow. The security situation is continuing to be monitored and protective measures are being taken. Russia's Freedom Corps consists of several hundred intrepid Russian volunteers fighting with their own people as part of the Ukrainian armed forces. Caesar is a member of the group. He is a former teacher, a father and a wife living in Kiev. He told CNN last year that he has dedicated his life to toppling Russian President Vladimir Putin and making his way into Red Square and the Kremlin itself. He is a devoted member of the Orthodox Church and nostalgic for the pre-Soviet Tsarist era. His unit is well equipped with modern armored vehicles, sniper rifles, and latest automatic weapons. His unit is well equipped with modern armored vehicles, sniper rifles, and latest automatic weapons. The legionnaires themselves admitted that they were often suspected by Ukrainian soldiers but hoped to win them over with bravery on the battlefield. Their apparent incursion along the border, often used by Russian mortar and artillery teams as fire bases for attacks inside Ukraine, would further bolster their reputation. It also serves as part of ongoing psychological operations aimed at undermining support for the war in Russia and the fighting spirit of Russian soldiers themselves, signaling that they are vulnerable to any attack at any time and even by their own countrymen. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said, Russian forces are working to drive back the Ukrainian reconnaissance and sabotage group from the territory of the Russian Federation and destroy them. There are enough forces and means, he told reporters. He mentioned Bakhmut, which was of great importance in the conflict as Russian forces fought to capture the eastern Ukrainian city while making no gains elsewhere. Russian officials warn of the risk of Western mistakes when continuing to provide military aid to Ukraine. NATO does not consider this to be a serious scenario. Otherwise, NATO would not have provided such dangerous weapons to the Ukrainian authorities. Obviously, they think a nuclear conflict or a nuclear apocalypse is a scenario that can never happen. Russian National Security Council Vice President Dmitry Medvedev said in an interview with RT news agency on May 23. According to Medvedev, NATO does not take the risk of nuclear conflict seriously. They were wrong. At some point, events may unfold in a completely unpredictable scenario. The North Atlantic Alliance NATO will have to bear the full responsibility, the Russian official said. Emphasize, the more weapons are supplied, the more dangerous the world becomes, Medvedev warned. As weapons become more and more destructive, the so-called nuclear apocalypse scenario becomes more and more likely, Medvedev added. According to the former Russian president, no one knows whether the parties have passed the point of no return. Nobody knows this. That's the main danger, because as soon as they deliver something, they say, "Give me more of this." Long-range rockets or planes. More and more types. More serious weapons are used. That is the current trend, Mr. Medvedev concluded. Earlier, the deputy chairman of Russia's National Security Council said in February that Moscow would defend itself by all means, including nuclear weapons. It is clear to all major powers that if the United States wants to defeat Russia, we're headed for a conflict on a global scale. If the United States wants to defeat Russia, we have the right to defend ourselves with any weapon. Any weapons, including nuclear weapons, Medvedev stressed. Russia accuses the US and its allies of continuing to supply Ukraine with weapons only to prolong and escalate the conflict. Moscow also warned that all Western weapons brought into Ukraine became the target of legitimate attacks and destruction by the Russian military. The United States has pledged $37 billion in military aid to Ukraine since Russia launched a military operation in the neighboring country in February last year. During a meeting last week, US President Joe Biden told G7 leaders that he supported the allies' joint effort to train Ukrainian pilots to use F-16 fighter jets, though still there is no commitment to provide this aircraft to Kiev. In recent months, Ukrainian officials have urged the West to donate F-16 fighter jets to strengthen their air control capabilities. This request has not been met because the US cited a number of different reasons, such as the F-16 operation requires training time and the maintenance problem is also complicated.